Good to have you with us on this Wednesday edition, Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Full disclosure right off the top, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I guess I'm guilty of subscribing to common sense every now and then. I don't for a moment think that Donald Trump was thinking that the 100 million gun owners across America who don't want to see the Second Amendment abolished, that he was signaling to them that maybe they should go do something. It's outrageous. What he was talking about was voting. Here's the comment that the media is now into its 28th hour of just frothing at the mouth about this. The mainstream media, CNN is the worst. They're just playing every angle of violence they possibly can and what's wrong with Trump. Here it is.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know.
Well, obviously he's talking about voting. Obviously he's talking about if she wins the election, there's going to be Supreme Court justices who are liberal and placed on the court, and she's going to have the teeth legislatively and in the executive branch and the executive power, the legislative branch and the judicial branch to do what she wants to do with firearms in this country. He's drawing a distinction. Now, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I am a gun owner, okay? But that didn't fire me up. The bottom line here is this is the common sense division is what it is. And I just think the media is just overplaying this big time, and they're unprofessional for doing it. They must think that everybody is just a bunch of dumbasses out there, and they have to have interpretation on absolutely everything because people can't think for themselves. This is one of the reasons why I think Trump won so many primaries. Richard Viguerie joins us, and I don't think that he's the biggest Trump fan in the world either. He's the godfather of the conservative movement and chairman of conservativehq.com. Mr. Viguerie, good to have you with us.
Always a pleasure, Ed.
What do you make of what Trump has now unleashed here with these comments?
Well, I haven't been following it very clearly here, but it's mostly a lot about nothing. But we know the media is clearly on the side of Hillary, and they know she has numbers that are locked in, basically, that question her honesty, and they're trying to kind of bring us back to the Goldwater days of 1964. I was there, remember it very well, where you had a person who had an image of maybe not being all that honest, Lyndon Johnson, but the other person was presented in the media as someone downright dangerous, may threaten the survival of the world. And so the media is trying to reconstruct, the 1964 campaign, and if the people have a choice between somebody they think is not all that honest, but the other person is going to threaten their life, it's kind of an easy decision.
Now, let me give our listeners an idea of what you're talking about. That's Barry Goldwater in 1964, and I think he's famous for a number of different comments. One of them was made on 60 Minutes when he was asked by the CBS correspondents, Mr. Goldwater, if you're elected president, how will you handle Vietnam? And he said, total victory, and there won't be enough left to plant rice. That's what his comment was. So,
well, Ed, I can add to that something about lobbing one into the men's room at the Kremlin, you may remember.
Yeah.
So Goldwater said a number of things that were kind of outrageous.
So how is Trump doing? I mean, let's look at Florida, Mr. Viguerie. The Quinnipiac poll, most recently, they're very accurate, very credible. When you have all four candidates who were measured in this, Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, Clinton, and Trump and Clinton are tied at 43, Johnson's at 7, Jill Stein at 3. I mean, Trump is not out of this. This is 29 electoral votes. It's the largest big swing state out there. Well, what's your take at this point inside 90 days of the election?
Anytime Trump is within the margin of error with Clinton, it just says that this is not a blowout. This is not 1964. I can believe, Ed, that Trump could win by 55% or lose by 45%. I think it's going to be in that range. And one of the things to remember is that Clinton, for all intents and purposes, is running for the third term of Obama's presidency, and she's more or less considered the incumbent, I think. And she's consistently polling well under 50%. And so that says that Trump's got a lot of room to grow there. I think she's got a minimum amount of growth opportunity. But Trump, no guarantee he's going to do it. But he's got growth opportunity much more so, I think, than Hillary.
What do you make of this latest email revelation that there is a connection between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department when it comes to someone who was looking for a job? Is that a serious issue, in your opinion, for Hillary Clinton?
It should be, Ed. I've always thought that the Republicans were making a mistake by putting 95% of their energy into the Benghazi emails and projects, and all of that. I think it's serious, but the real scandal is in the Clinton Foundation. I mean, there we're talking about soliciting tens of millions of dollars from our sworn enemies, people who want Hillary to influence policy in their direction, and these are people who wish us harm. And there's an enormous scandal there. This is serious stuff. This gets into the area of treason, perhaps, and I think the Republicans have made a big mistake by, for the most part, ignoring that. That's the issue that could bring down Clinton very, very quickly in a major way.
Let's get back to Donald Trump's comments about the Second Amendment. He was making, I think, a very profound point about the Supreme Court, that if he's not president, and he said in that speech yesterday in Wilmington, North Carolina, that you're going to be very, very happy with who I appoint to the Supreme Court. Very happy, he said. I don't know if he's talking to moderate conservatives or staunch conservatives, but that's what he was talking to. And he said that Hillary Clinton wants to abolish the Second Amendment. But he inartfully pointed out what conservatives are concerned about, and that is the Supreme Court and the importance of this election. Do you have a level of trust that Trump would put the proper judges on the Supreme Court from the mindset of a conservative?
Well, I'd answer it this way, Ed. Conservatives say to me, not a lot, but a few, well, he's going to be wrong here, Richard. He's going to be wrong there. I said, you might be right. He might be wrong 20% of the time, 30%, maybe even 40% of the time. Hillary is going to be wrong from a conservative perspective 100% of the time. So it's just not a close contest there. So, yes, I think he's going to do a few big things. He's going to build a wall. He's going to change the trade agreements. And he's going to appoint conservative judges. Certainly they'll be right of center. Hillary will be wrong from a conservative perspective 100% of the time, and that's not going to happen with Trump. So for conservatives, let me say it this way, Ed. For liberals, this is a really important election. For conservatives, it's the ball game. I don't know how conservatives recover from Hillary making 3-4 Supreme Court appointments plus hundreds of federal judges. I think that they would rule America, govern America for 30, 40 years, and I think this is a ball game for us. It's a big deal, this election.
Richard Viguerie, godfather of conservative movement and chairman of conservativehq.com. Mr. Viguerie, always pleasure. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Ed, for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. When we come back, the social media crowd. There's folks out there, they're all twisted up about Bernie Sanders' new lake home. We'll talk about that next. Stay with us. Hey folks, you've heard me talk about BioGreen Clean. I'm going to show you right now on my airplane just how tough this is. I want you to keep in mind, chemical-free, 100% plant-derived, biodegradable. It is the safest cleaner that you can get, and it's the most effective. Go to our website, wegoted.com, or go to biogreenclean.com, www.biogreenclean, and order today.
We perpetuate a culture of crime all the way from Wall Street right down to the main street in our hometowns. It's worse than it has been since FDR took control of the problem and said we can't count on industry taking care of the American labor. They probably have already engaged into some type of criminal cover-up, and the law prohibits the government from even doing anything about it.
Catch America's lawyer Mike Papantonio on YouTube at youtube.com/GoLeftTV.
Back with you on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Every now and then, liberals in this country rear the very ugly side of liberalism. And I don't know what it is. It's in the DNA of some liberals that they begrudge someone's success, or they become very judgmental if someone has something they don't have. Bernie Sanders, a socialist. Bernie Sanders, an advocate for workers and unions and the middle class. He has purchased a lake home in a small town in Vermont, right on Lake Champlain. I think it's North Hero, Vermont. It's a town of 1,000 people. For a whopping, a stunning, just incredible $600,000, a lake home. And he's getting beat up on social media that he's not real, that this is not the voice of the people, and he took those $27 donations and bought a lake home. I mean, it's just rotten, is what it is. And to say that there's been some kind of outrage would be not reporting the story accurately. But I think any criticism of a man who is 75 years old and has worked essentially 60 years of his life, and he's enjoying the fruits of life in his senior years to the point where he buys a $600,000 home on a lake. First of all, $600,000. Have you ever tried to buy anything in Washington, D.C. or New York City for $600,000? You don't get shit, okay? All right, let's just tell it like it is. A lake home in Minnesota for $600,000, you ain't going to get very much, okay? So Bernie is now not real. He's not as real as everybody thought he was, because he's got a lake home now. And this is just an ugly side of liberalism, and it's an ugly side of that part of our political spectrum in this country that is horribly unfair and gives liberals a bad name. Bernie, you enjoy that lake home, dude. You've earned it. This is Ed Schultz News and Commentary. We're back tomorrow.